Superheroes and video games should go hand in hand. While movies may struggle to bring this endless imagination of the comic books to life, games revel in the kind of fantastical abilities and heartfelt plots of this source material. Why then have so few games been able to get it right? Sure, there have been great superhero games, from Insomniac's latest Spider-Man to even X-Men Origins Wolverine, but considering the movie industry is buzzing with multiple box office breaking comic book flicks every year, the lack of amazing superhero experiences on consoles has always been puzzling. However, the explanation for why can be traced right the way back to the beginning of the medium. Gaming back then didn't have the same respect that it does now, and that general view led to the big two, Marvel and DC, selling their licenses to publishers who didn't really care about quality. In fact, in the 80s and 90s, it was a free-for-all, where publishers like LJN infamously attempted to cash in on any mainstream license they could get their hands on, something which the angry video game nerd has covered far better than I could here, resulting in absolutely terrible superhero games like The Uncanny X-Men, Spider-Man, and Howard the Duck. Yep, Howard the Duck. It didn't help either that the studios who owned these characters viewed the games as mere adverts for movies, often making them with a small fraction of the film's marketing budget. Regular video game developers usually only have to answer to their publishers, but a third layer of control is added when dealing with characters another company owns. Reflecting on the pressure this added earlier this year with VG 24/7, James Parker, the creative lead on the ill-fated Catwoman video game tie-in, had this to say. All the things that can go wrong with game development are compounded within a movie tie-in. The goalposts are moved as the story or contents of the film change, and having several layers of approval, often from people who neither understand nor care about the game adaptation, means that schedules can be thrown off by no fault of the developers, and all the time they're facing down on an unchanging release date. End quote. This mentality continued right into the 2000s, with immovable release dates compounding convoluted development processes where even the smallest changes to a character's design or line of dialogue had to be approved by producers whose main focus wasn't on the game itself. After years of letting anyone have a go though, Marvel partnershiped with Activision in 1998, starting nearly 2 decades of games made under their tutelage. The ins and outs of the deal aren't public knowledge, but it was most likely in response to Marvel's impending bankruptcy in that same year. The company sold the rights to their characters to movie studios in the same vein in order to stay afloat. Initially though, the partnership was a huge success. In 2000, the publisher debuted 3 AAA Marvel titles: the fighting game X-Men Mutant Academy, Neversoft's seminal Spider-Man, and Blade. From here on out, there would be at least 3 superhero games from the publisher a year. However, the frequency came at the cost of quality. The speed of production meant that one year could birth great titles like Spider-Man 2 or Marvel Ultimate Alliance, where the next could see disappointments like Fantastic Four and X-Men The Official Game. Still, the projects themselves were huge commercial successes, and it led to Marvel and Activision to renew their deal in 2003 with a new expiry date of 2017. Unfortunately, as documented on our video of Activision as a whole, the publisher eventually pushed these titles to the wayside. The amount of yearly superhero games was slashed in 2007, but the same short development cycles for licensed games were kept, with release dates prioritized over quality. Some titles overcame their constraints during this era, such as Deadpool and Shattered Dimensions, but even they lacked the quality and polish of major blockbuster releases. It didn't help either that in 2009, WB showed superhero fans just what they'd been missing out on by unleashing Arkham Asylum into the wild, but it admittedly took them a lot of trial and effort to get to that point. Not facing the same kind of crisis in the 90s as Marvel, Time Warner/WB continued to work with a multitude of different publishers and developers on their superhero tie-ins. That didn't necessarily make them better though. It was clear that these releases were still afterthoughts, and even the very best, like Batman Vengeance and Batman Rise of Sinju. Sinzu? Let me know down in the comments. Weren't exactly blockbusters in terms of sales or production values. In fact, some of the very worst superhero games of all time came out of WB not really caring about what happened to their licenses, with some terrible Superman tie-ins becoming emblematic of the overall lack of quality in the genre as a whole. Hell, it's one of the few times Activision has actually looked pretty good in comparison. Perhaps knowing they could do better, just as Activision started to cool on superhero properties, WB embraced them. publishing their own titles rather than giving total control to other companies. Their first attempts were a little bit wobbly, with Watchmen: The End Is Nigh and the ambitious if flawed Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe failing to inspire much confidence. But then, Arkham Asylum happened. Born out of a cancelled tie-in to Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight, Rocksteady were given free rein to do whatever they wanted with the character. It was creative freedom which could have been daunting, a far cry from every little detail having to be okayed by movie execs only interested in advertising a completely different product. The developers ran with it though, giving fans the definitive Batman video game. While many expected Arkham to kick off a superhero boom, however, it never quite came to pass. Other publishers simply weren't interested in putting in the same amount of effort. Focusing purely on live services, during these boom years for DC, Activision were more than happy to let their own superhero games flounder, and the company's relationship with Marvel came to an end in 2014 with the turd in the wind that was The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Digital licenses for past games weren't renewed either, meaning you can no longer officially buy any of their superhero titles outside of secondhand shops, proving once and for all how disposable these games were to the publisher. There were, of course, successful enterprises outside of WB and Activision. Telltale has released a bevy of great licensed, narrative-driven experiences, including ones based on superheroes like Guardians of the Galaxy and Batman. On the other hand, LEGO has produced plenty of Marvel and DC projects aimed at a younger market. Fighting games have similarly always performed well, but superheroes usually only appear in crossovers like Marvel vs. Capcom or the aforementioned MK vs. DC universe. While scratching an itch, none of these were quite the blockbuster experiences fans were looking for, and for those they had to look elsewhere to original creations like Sony's Infamous. Of course, no matter how great these games were, they came with the pervasive feeling that already established heroes deserve to be treated with the same care. While both Marvel and DC characters have been plagued by decades of mismanagement and been tied up in licensing agreements that have held them hostage, the future is bright. After parting ways with Activision, Marvel are now following WB and entering partnerships with developers and publishers who can do their properties justice. We've already seen the fruits of their renewed interest with this year's Spider-Man, a PS4 exclusive that's done for the webhead what Arkham did for The Dark Knight. How this new ethos plans out in full is yet to be seen, but judging on the one game we do have and the overall enthusiasm for the projects going forward, it is promising. Rocksteady are also back hiring for their upcoming project, which is rumored to expand the DC gaming universe beyond just Batman. The way the parent companies of these characters view the gaming world has radically changed since the start of the decade, and if these new experiences are good and can live alongside the likes of Telltale and LEGO, then we might just be entering a new golden age of superhero games. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want to know what you think down in the comments below. While you're there, can you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, you've been watching WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon. Bye.